I think it's working. I can see you. So,
Yeah, well, hey, that's a good start.
alrighty. So, this is for the podcast that is unnamed at the moment. It's very new in its infancy. So, the idea is it's going to be a podcast about creatives and automotive people. Not going to be one rhyme or reason to one thing, or not going to be pigeonholed, is what I'm trying to say. So, today we're talking to Mr. Kenny. How do you say your last name? I want to make sure I don't slaughter it. I'm
You
bad
can
with
either
reading.
go with Kroeker, or if you want to be really German, it's something like Kroeker. But
Okay,
Kroeker works.
I can't say it like that.
I say Kroeker. So Kenny Kroeker.
Okay, Kroeker. All right, sweet. So I came to know you through your automotive photography work through Instagram, and I almost feel like I might have seen your work in automotive photography education group on Facebook way back.
I do post there occasionally, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that group used to be really cool. It used to pop off all the time. You get a lot of cool people in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I remember
it's changed a bit.
a lot. I
That's
remember
fair.
getting responses from like Andrew Link and I think it was Mick Griffin or Mick
Okay.
Graffin.
Robert McGaffin?
Yes.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pepper Yandel used to be on there as well.
Oh
I
yeah.
think it was that one, or if it was the other one, the Automotive Photography Collective or something. But yeah.
It was good. You could get a lot of cool information off of that, and then all of a sudden it got political, and then everything is going.
It's the way everything goes, especially on Facebook.
Yep, Facebook. So I see you've been doing illustration work too. How long have you been doing that for?
Honestly, I've been drawing cars for as long as I can remember. Like way back from I don't even know how old I was. I was drawing. At the time, I honestly didn't know what they were, but they were like rudimentary front engine dragsters. But I had no clue what a front engine dragster was at the time. But it was just, how I knew how to draw cars, and that came before any of the photography.
Yeah.
So more recently, I'd say last year, like I would draw cars for fun, but last year I picked up drawing Ratfink stuff, just to see if I could do it. And that's where the more recent automotive illustrations coming from, that I've been doing, which I don't post a lot about. It's a very time consuming process. So it's like you don't get a whole lot done in a quick amount of time. Yeah, I'd say, last year really is when people realized that I could do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think I found out until probably last year. I saw like a few story posts and whatnot of certain projects. And I thought it was really cool. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, and I've been like, I'll draw, I'll paint like with like acrylics, watercolor, India ink, markers, and all that stuff, and I have for years. I just never shared it.
That's really cool. I could always draw when I was younger to some extent, especially in high school. I mean, I only graduated like 36 people, so I guess there wasn't a lot of people to compete with. I could draw, but my sister was way better than me at drawing and whatnot.
Okay.
I can't see myself doing work like yours. It just doesn't click for me.
Well, I feel like the style I've been doing is a lot easier for me than realism, but for other people it might not be the case.
Yeah.
So I find that pushing that direction, it still represents the real object, but it's not. It allows me to push those proportions in ways where you don't realize that where you intentionally exaggerate proportions, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like for me, okay, it's not limited to that area. I feel like it's very much a part of the way that I am as an artist. I'm very photorealistic with everything. It's just a part of me.
Yeah. Oh, I get that. And you can always use that to your advantage too.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like with photorealism, especially, there's a long way to go to get it to a point you're happy with it.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I can see that.
I've tried doing some computer generated computer generated illustration work. I used Adobe Illustrator for several weird projects and whatnot. I went to school and I used it. So,
Right.
I
And
tried
what did you go to
making
school for?
graphic design.
Okay, same here.
I went to school for graphic design. And I was going to do a major with my business, and I only went to a 2-year. I was only going to get my associates, and the idea was I was going to get 2 associates. The SUNY system's kind of stupid, and they don't recognize the fact that I wanted to have 2 majors, so
Right.
I had to do them like after each other, and it got to the point with my second one that I was just not happy with going still. I didn't feel like there was much of a benefit of going after that bit, and I took all of the useful classes for business, and like all the crap ones, I'm like, no, I'll just leave it. If I feel like going back and getting it, I feel like going back and getting it, but
Right. That's fair.
it's not that important to me. Paper wise, the degree doesn't really mean very much of anything to me.
No, I mean, for graphic design, it doesn't really mean anything at all.
No. I went to school trying to learn the skill set so that I had something to play around with and, use.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, I didn't finish my any education either. I got 2.5 years out of 3 in, basically.
Yeah.
So,
well, I did get my associates in graphic design, but then again, it really doesn't mean jack diddly.
that's fair. Yeah, and that's exactly why I never went back to finish either.
Yeah. I did get to walk across the stage with my muck boots underneath my gown, so
nice. you got one up on me there.
And it doesn't really mean much. If anything, it pissed off my parents because I wear boots.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Alrighty, so I guess I'll get into some of the questions that we kind of have here. I had some questions that I wrote down. So I guess tell me about some of your origins. Like, where did you start? What came first, the chicken or the egg? Sounds like illustration came before it, or drawing.
To an extent, it did. A lot of the stuff actually sort of happened through college. So part of college was we had an illustration course as part of the graphic design program there. And so, of course, illustration was part of that through that. But I would say in second year, there was a drink book project. And we had to photograph drinks, and something with the photography. So photography is also a part of the graphic design program. So it was very well rounded in that sense.
Okay.
More so you could understand the other, that you can communicate with photographers and you can communicate with illustrators as a graphic designer, but also to give you opportunities to perhaps specialize a bit in those fields as well if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And then something about, I actually did a light painting drink book, and that something there clicked with photography. And then, so that sort of spawned the interest in photography, because I actually saw some results out of photography that I was actually proud of.
Yeah.
And so cool. Then in my third year, I ended up, we had a thesis project. So I started my thesis project, and I was going to do something, basically making a book about car photography. For the thesis project. And so I started photographing cars that fall. And that was like my first photo shoots were in the fall of 2012 then. And so I had 0 connections. And so I randomly found a parking lot full of with like 15 Mustangs or something in it. And I stopped in and said hi and introduced myself. And then from there, it's like they told me about a car show happening. And then from the car show, I found out about a cruise night. And from that cruise night, I found out about more cruise nights and different car shows, and quickly ran around trying to get a bunch of photos. And so that was what started the interest there. But following college, I had the time at the time, and I really wanted to get an automotive photography. And I knew that that's something I really wanted to do. Because I've always had a passion for cars. But as anybody getting into automotive photography figures out in a hurry, it's not necessarily an easy field to get into.
No.
So I, of course, faced all the same challenges and immediately realized that though nobody's eagerly hiring photographers for cars.
No.
And so
specialty.
it's a very difficult field to get into. And so my logic was this: I basically saw a Venn diagram that said I have the cars, the photography, and the graphic design, and what's in the middle of those three things. And I saw a magazine. I decided at that point I was going to start a magazine of my own, and print it and try and distribute it however I could. It was very naive, but it actually got me my foot in the door for a lot of different places, because it was a very expensive portfolio, basically.
Oh, it definitely sounds like it. Anything print-based is expensive, and to publish something too.
Yeah,
We
it didn't go far. We got 5 issues out of it over the course of 2 years.
Yeah.
And but I'm like, it's still work I'm proud of.
Oh, it's really cool.
Yeah, and so that really probably made my introduction to my main clients now because of that.
Yeah.
So it came back around in a way. Yeah, it definitely opened a lot of doors, and even within the car community opened a lot of doors, because as soon as a car guy hears magazine, his ears perk up right away.
Yes. Yep.
And then they let you in places that you normally wouldn't be able to get access to because you say magazine.
Yeah. I totally get that. The fact that it was a magazine is actually really cool that you started making one. That is such a cool way to make a portfolio. It might not have been the sole intent was to make a portfolio, but the fact that it was in that layout and you could see your product in the place of where you nowadays where it is for current work, that's just such a cool thing to be able to show somebody, because you can literally lay it out in front of them, like, well, this is what you get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think being able to present it with a layout that I also liked really helped the work, and the two then could complement each other a bit better, I think. And I honestly think it's a shortcoming of a lot of magazines today is layouts.
Yeah.
Besides, I mean, you can get nitpicky about every part of it, but occasionally you pick something up and wow, that's laid out really well, and it elevates the photos.
I was gonna say it was Wheel Hub. That's pretty good. I got a few issues of that, and obviously they're on top of their game.
They're incredible. Yeah. Again, that's coming back to Robert McGaffin.
Yep. I remember that, and there's a bit of Tyler Anthony Ross, or Ross Anthony Tyler.
I forget
what's up his names.
Yeah, I remember picking up the first issue of that, and there was the Mura, the barn find Mura that was in there. Yeah,
that was that Jeremy Cliff?
Was that Jeremy Cliff? I honestly don't remember.
But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
those were so cool. I'm quite sure.
Yeah, so well, again, it's like, even when I look at any other magazine or even my own sets, there's like, you get your 5 photos or maybe that you're really proud of, and the rest kind of are supported by those 5. And looking through that magazine, it's like there's nothing that needs any support. They're all amazing photos.
They're amazing on their own. They stand very well. But that is really cool that you say that about the magazine. So the way that I've gone about it, so I'll dabble in this real quick, and then maybe I'll wrap it back around afterward. So the first way I started really advertising, if you want to say, trying to figure out where to find work, was taking my pictures. I started shooting on my own car because it's a test subject, and I'd print them out and I'd bring them to like these small little car shows, some like larger ones too. And the number of no's you get is pretty outstanding. However, it's pretty cool number of people that take notice of like how it's different. A lot of the early stuff I was doing was light painting, and I'm not trying to be mean, but people's interest is very high, even if light painting is very bad. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
My first couple of photos were so messy. I was like, oh, there's a line over here, there's a line over there. Hell yeah, I'll merge them together. Lines.
Yeah. Definitely done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all part of learning.
Mhm.
Once you figure out what it is, then you have an eye for what is actually good. And like when things are actually planned out well and they're executed well. But yes, the lines definitely are something that create for a lot of attention. It causes for people to just stare.
Well, it's unusual, something they've never seen before, and so
Yeah.
they immediately gravitate towards it. But yeah, they don't. But your general car guide, not to be rude to them or anything, they don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And it takes a while, and then they start picking up on what's good and what's bad. But
Yeah.
they're happy to have a very poorly light painted photo of their car, if as long as it's free.
Yeah.
And it's very true though.
Yeah. It's just one of those funny things I picked up on. One of my old photos I had on Facebook. Someone picks up like, wow, this is great. It's like I'm just cringing inside. I'm like, this is terrible. It's just one of my old photos and I just didn't know what I was doing.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah, that's funny. So I started off by going to car shows and bringing physical photos and showing people. And I think my first job I had like that was one of our friends around the corner. They have a 65 Corvette Stingray convertible.
Mhm.
It's a blue one. If you ever see it anywhere in my stuff, it's buried though in my stuff.
Okay.
But I did that first shoot for like $30.
Right. But
But it was only about like an hour and a half.
that's all right. It's you're not really getting paid anything noteworthy at that point, but for a first shoot, it's something.
Yeah, I mean, it was really learning. I was still in like the fundamentals. I think that was the point where I was starting to get into strobing.
Okay.
So I had this large, I think this was when I was using a softbox finally instead of an umbrella. And it actually turned out okay. I mean, I think it was more than $30, but like nobody's really going to pay you for it if they don't really want it, especially if they don't have like a real use for it.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing there. A lot of people won't pay just to have a photo on the wall, or they're not going to pay you what your time's worth to have a photo on the wall.
Yeah.
Which is understandable.
Mhm.
I get it, but it's as a photographer, of course, it's nice to find a whole list of clients who want to pay for your work.
For sure. But that was one of the first ones. And it's just bringing like an album. I think there are a bunch of like either 4x6s or 8x10s, so like Walmart quality.
But showing up with a physical print is I think was a very important thing. Something physical rather than it's not on a tablet, it's not on your phone. You have something you actually printed.
I've actually come to enjoy that a bit. I actually have a large portfolio that I do sell prints out of occasionally. It's just a hodgepodge of photos that I like, and I sell some of them, so I just liquidate them. Like, oh, bye. Print out a new, like, nice fresh batch, throw them back in there.
Okay.
I'll grab it in a sec. It's
so you have a look.
17.
Okay.
What?
So I was just curious on you have something you slide the photos into then, and then you have
portfolio.
Okay.
I only got it at Michael's. I think I bought 3 of them.
Oh, perfect. That's not a bad idea.
I actually learned that from college. We had to have our final portfolios for our graphic design, and that was the size that she wanted, was 11x17. And then something about it I liked, and then I printed some of my photos along with the assignment. I just really liked it, so I just went ahead and just did it myself.
If it works, it works.
So my appreciation for physical prints is very large. I love physical prints. They are my favorite.
Yeah.
So I just have like this nice large portfolio.
Right. Oh, that works perfectly. Yeah. You can see that well.
I've definitely taken this off to a bunch of different shows before.
Right.
And when you have a large piece like this, I really feel like that does even more for people because it's just like it's more lifelike from the scale of it.
And you can start seeing the details in the images as well.
Yes. you can definitely appreciate it way more. So this is just kind of some of the stuff that I carry around with me when I go to shows and stuff.
That's perfect. Yeah, no, what I had done, I guess I did last year and the year before, is I came up with, it was just an 8.5 by 11 booklet.
Yeah.
And then I would just laid it out in InDesign and got it printed. Yeah. But I mean, your portfolio there wasn't cheap to put together just because of printing costs.
It was definitely expensive, but like,
yeah, but I mean, it's worth it. Plus, if you're selling,
what
if you're selling stuff out of it and replacing it, then that's even better too.
I don't sell a lot out of it, to be entirely honest. Sometimes at shows, I sold a bunch of them at a specific show this year because I actually had a booth, but I move them like once in a while. But yeah, the scale is perfect. I have a local printer that I also found out through college.
Okay.
I get prints done like pretty nice. I love that scale. It only cost me this many dollars to make a print.
That's all right.
And I get it done right in town. There's sometimes I can get it done in the same exact day that I place the order. Right.
So I've got a printer that's about, I mean, I live out in the country, so town is relative. But a local printer, they're pricey, but I've yet to find a better quality print anywhere else. And so I keep going back to them. But their service is amazing, but as a result, you do pay the price for it. And that's usually how things go.
This stuff I get printed is like a semi-gloss. It's not super glossy. It's not quite a photo. It's more so like a poster. Okay. But honestly, for me, it's perfectly fine. And most people that are buying it, when I'm just selling them on the fly, a lot of people are probably just going to put them on the wall anyway.
Yeah, they're probably looking for something to hang up in the shop kind of thing.
Yeah. So not really a big deal. So that was just kind of a stupid thing. So, all right. I feel like I could talk forever, so I apologize if I
you're good. It's all good.
Like crazy. I get obsessed with it. So, how did you get into cars in the first place? Like, I'm sure it's completely different from me.
I have some older brothers who were into cars a bit, and that may have started to an extent.
Yeah.
And then I didn't grow up around cars though, like not really. No. There was an occasional, like one of my brothers, he still has his 87 Monte Carlo. Okay. And another brother, I don't even remember what year it was. I think it was some 1960s, maybe 70s Mustang that was around for a bit. Another brother had, there was a mini truck sitting around here for a while on hydros, which was actually really cool in hindsight now.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of things, but it was different as the kid brother looking at it. And I remember like there was, there'd be a certain book I'd go through as a kid over and over and over again, looking, there was, the supercars, the Ferrari F40, the Bugatti EB110, the XJ2, the Jag XJ220, and all sorts of stuff like that. And then in high school, I still became even more obsessed with cars. I don't know what it is or what it was. It was just something about cars has always drawn me in, and finding a local community that is as passionate as me or more passionate than me about cars. Yeah, that's been huge to it and pulled me in to like more niche groups of automotive guys as well. Yeah, you're definitely in a really cool hot rod clique. Like I personally am not in that clique at all. I don't even know if it's out towards me. But it's going to be everywhere. Cool era. Yeah, and I see it's what I see everywhere because it's the people I end up surrounding myself with because we just hit it off so well. I think it's the type of people that do this that build that kind of cars. We just relate well. And it's like the shows I go to. I mean, depending on the shows, I mean, a lot of them you'll see a bit of everything, whether it's everything from new Camaros to Model Ts. Yep. But then I'll go to more specific stuff where it's specifically hot rod shows where you won't even there's not even any muscle cars. Yeah. And then I get into so cool. It's a very unique group of people that I think for like largely, I mean, it's very, very interesting, but a large part of it falls by the wayside because they're not interested in anything new.
You know, that's definitely, I found myself in a place where I felt the effects of people like that. I started off with muscle cars. My dad was a Pontiac guy all the time. He still is. He had his Firebirds, and he also had one before I was born. He bought it like the year before I was born, and that ended up becoming my car. He decided he was going to give it to me.
Oh, very
Pretty
cool.
much as a haul with parts. So we did a full restoration. Like that's what got me into it. Restored it. I knew like all the ins and outs of Pontiacs because it's like all my dad was into.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have so many cool Pontiac friends that are just into this small little niche.
Yep.
Well, they're some of the coolest people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they know everything there is to know about the one
definitely.
specific thing, and you got to have those people around.
Yeah. And I started selling photos to only people in that group. And it was really cool shooting all these cool cars because you can get all the different Trans Ams. I've shot the early 70s Trans Ams, which are really cool. They're almost unicorns, but not quite unicorns.
Right.
And I also got to shoot the Silverbird.
I saw that on your Instagram. I think it's gorgeous.
Such a weird car.
It is.
Never thought I'd see it in person. I got an opportunity to shoot it. I'm friends with the original man's. It's Herb Adams was the person that was in control of that project, and he built that car. His son Adam is my friend. He and his friends restored that car, and then it exchanged hands a few times. And it's one of their friends that's close by too, named Brandon. Super cool opportunity. Never thought I'd see it, and I had an opportunity to shoot it, so I took advantage of it.
Absolutely, you gotta jump on those opportunities when you get them.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of stuff like that, and then the more I thought about it, well, in the back of my head, I always had a stigma, and I knew it's true. There's a lot of people in that demographic of like older muscle car people. They hate anything new.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, but there's a large group. I remember my dad being like that.
Mm-hmm.
You'd see like a Honda Civic go by and be like, oh, it's a piece of crap. Okay. It might have a really bad exhaust on it. And you're okay, this one might be a bad example. But when you get to know people that have them, they can be super cool cars. If you close yourself off to it, you miss so many opportunities.
Absolutely. And I catch myself jumping into that as well, where I have the things I like, but I catch myself being upset at everybody else because they don't like the same things I do. Yeah. And then thinking everything else is terrible because it's not what my personal tastes are at. But as soon as you open your eyes to it, you'll see that the people with Honda Civics are the same type of people who were driving around in Model A's or 1932 Fords because it was what they could afford to hop up.
For sure. And I really feel like that was beneficial to me, kind of overcoming that mental stigma, I guess, and just becoming way more accepting and open-minded to things. Because I have so many friends that are into cars that I would personally never own. It's not to say that, not to say that I don't think they're cool, but like there's certain cars that I know I just never would own. But
there's a lot of cars I don't want to own.
Love them.
Yeah.
And I got over that stigma and I ended up buying another car. It was my Volvo. It was my Volvo 240, the station wagon.
Those things are amazing.
From a 68 Firebird to a Volvo station wagon. They're so. Do you call those polarized cars? Because I almost feel like they kind of are and they kind of aren't.
I mean, one's the import, one's domestic.
Yeah.
I mean, to that degree, I mean, they're very, very different. But I don't view them as being polar opposites by any means because I love both.
Yeah. I think it's funny because you go from one that's like all bro to one that's like slow.
Yeah.
It's that muscle car. It's got that stigma. It's like, oh, it must be really fast to have all of the horsepower. It's like, okay, first of all, my car is super slow. It's like maybe 300 horsepower, and that's with a worked engine. Not very fast,
but for what it is, that's a lot of power.
For sure. And then you go to my Volvo. It's a literal brick. It's a rectangular prism. Oh,
absolutely.
And it's got holes in it. It's got patina. It's got peeling clear coat everywhere. It's got webs. It's got nests. It's like a piece of crap to most people, but it's so cool. They have such a cool history to them. It's from the factory. Mine's a factory turbo car,
Okay.
not intercooled. It makes 127 horsepower from the factory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to go anywhere fast. But it's that
No.
same thing as like last night I was out with a friend of mine and we saw an LTD station wagon and we both got super excited about it. Well, it's all white and snowy up here, so to see that out in the winter,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
mean to most people that's still a hunk of junk. And we
Yep.
got way too excited about seeing it out. I don't know. It's one of those things. I mean, I wagons have become so cool in the past 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And then but then it eventually wrap up the it's not just the 55 Nomads, it's the LTDs, it's the Volvos, it's any
Yeah.
Oldsmobile or anything like that. You just end up falling in love with all the wagons.
Yeah. It's cool. It's like once you fall for one part of it, there's this whole cluster that comes and just trains into the side of you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
one of the funniest things I learned with that car, never had it on the road. I've only taken it around the block like once and in Mexico. But it's not fast. However, this sensation of speed is amazing.
Yeah.
Go from down low where it's completely gutless, there's nothing to it. It has no power. And then once you hit about 3,000 RPM, you can see the tachometer start to spin up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then you feel it. You can feel all the torque at like one time, and then you could ratchet through the gears a little bit, and it's for
so
most
it's a
people,
lot of fun to drive.
Yeah, for most people, it's probably not enough, but like the speed limit has never been so much fun to fly.
But it's that thing about underpowered cars where they can be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
because you never really reach the limit of them.
Yep. It's just fun. Like I wouldn't trade that car at all. Like I love it. It's just so cool. And I've met so many friends that have all these Volvos and stuff. It's so incredibly cool. So hopefully I'll be on the road next year and I'll be able to take it down to Ithaca for a Volvo meet.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So, you can find your people.
Yep. I think that's enough about the Volvo talk. I get going.
Hey, Volvos are cool.
But so have you? What kind of cars have you owned?
That's like a terrible list of cars, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first car was a Saturn Ion. I think it was 2007 or 8 4-door.
Okay, no,
terrible. Yeah, and I went from that to a Pontiac Vibe, which was it lasted a really long time, and I
don't know how many miles you got out of yours, but holy crap, those things are freaking godsend. I swear.
I got every mile out of that car I could. I think I was right around 300,000 kilometers, which is different than miles, but it lasted me a long time and took me a lot of places. That car did really, really well for me. And then currently driving a 03 Civic.
Okay, cool. VTEC.
Yep. Yeah, it's I love making VTEC jokes. Yeah, I love my Honda guys, but it's like the whole VTEC thing I gotta laugh at. But it's a good little car. Funny. I mean, it's more fun than I thought it would be. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, same thing with the Volvo. I feel like it falls into that category. Unless you're making real power, then it's like,
yeah,
you're scared.
Yeah, no, the Civic's been a lot of fun. I mean, I've had more issues with it probably than any other car.
Really?
But we're just chasing down little gremlins. I mean, it's got 350,000 kilometers or so on it. Mileage. So it's up there. Yeah. But it's up there. We've been chasing just down some overheating issues. But it's almost 20 years old too. Yeah.
My buddy bought one the Matrixes in high school. This is back when I was like a senior or junior, so it was like 2015, 2016. He bought it from his boss. It was his daughter's car, I think, for $100. Guess what car he's still driving to this day?
The Matrix.
Yeah. It just passed inspection last month. I'm like, what?
They're solid. They just keep going.
I don't know why, but they do.
Yeah. I would
closing out.
I would have kept driving the Vibe too if it hadn't. It was just going to cost more to fix it than yeah. It was like a really dumb bearing that went like, and you had to take the transmission out to get at.
Oh, yeah.
So it wasn't worth fixing.
Yeah. So I think I got that. So what was your first paid shoot? I should ask.
That's a tough one. I think. I mean, it's tough because it's like, well, I before I really had any paid shoots, I started a magazine of my own.
Okay.
I think my first paid shoot was for Canadian Hot Rods, and I was shot a 1955 Nomad.
Okay. Cool.
And because of the list of questions, I actually grabbed it, and it actually got my first cover that wasn't my own with that same set of photos. So it's nothing too profound.
Still cool.
Yeah, so that was the first paid gig, and then with Canadian Hot Rods, and I've been doing a ton of stuff with them ever since.
Yeah, I see stuff all the time. It's super rad.
Yeah, no, they're awesome. I mean, a high quality magazine. Like the amount of content in Canadian Hot Rods always blows my mind because there's usually 5 or 6 features every issue. And most magazines will do 3 features maybe or something like that. So they pump out a lot of content for the size of the magazine.
Yeah. I don't know if I have had my break or not. So I don't have an NDA or anything like that. It's pretty much word of mouth of keeping hush.
Mm-hmm.
But I shot a certain rectangular thing about a month and a half ago.
Okay.
For a magazine from I think Denmark. I don't think it was Sweden. It's overseas.
Okay, cool. I've done a few for European magazines, and it always feels really good because it's so much further away.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. I know the name of it. I just don't remember what country they're from. Have you ever heard of Jacobs?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I think it's more so Volvo based.
Okay.
I don't know, but anyway, I shot one of my friend's cars for it. He's got a cool story, but I'm gonna keep that hush for now.
Sure.
But what we ended up doing was I did a shoot for him, and we did personal use rights for it, and I got paid for the personal rights for it.
Mm-hmm.
Went all the way out to mid New York for it, down towards the Finger Lakes. Shot for it was probably like 6 hours or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a full day, so
yeah.
It was about 3 hours of driving one way.
Right. Yeah, it's a full day.
Yep. And got so much cool stuff. And he said that they're interested in using the photos in the magazine. He's been the one that's been the middleman with it, so I have to figure that out. I hope that the magazine doesn't try to pull anything on me. It's the photographer. However, I did get paid for a personal shoot, so at least my ass is covered in that regard.
You got paid for something. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, it'd be cool to have it in a magazine regardless.
Yeah,
it always probably is a bad thing to say.
I get it though. Yeah.
I don't support using my images without paying me, but I mean, he did pay me for usage or something.
But that's for personal usage, not for magazine usages.
Yeah,
2 different things. I got bitten by that, so I'm a little more careful with that one now.
Yeah, I got to figure that out with time.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it doesn't come to bite me, but we'll see where it goes. We're still waiting to hear back. It's supposed to be like a December issue or something like that, or winter issue, which I thought was supposed to be December.
Right.
I haven't heard anything about it, so there's a good chance that it might fall out.
Okay. Sometimes that stuff just takes a while, or I mean, half the time if I have something published, I don't find out about it until it's in my mailbox.
Yeah. I told him I wanted to get a copy of the magazine as part of the deal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's always great, especially if it's overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had some stuff that I sold as personal usage, but without really thinking I had to explain how I sold it. And then saw pictures of it in a magazine without my permission.
Yeah.
And all I ended up getting out of it was a copy of the magazine at the end of it. And it's just, it wasn't worth doing something about.
Yeah,
if it happens once, but we just got to make sure it doesn't happen again, or you have to do something about it.
yeah, definitely. It's kind of a dickish thing to do, to just use somebody's image. Most
Yeah,
people in that position, I feel like, are aware of usage rights.
most people, but or I should say some people. I feel like I come across a lot of people who aren't aware of it.
Yeah, even
Um,
in the magazine world.
the magazine world understands it, yeah.
Yeah,
But it's a lot of the stuff just I mean, most magazines that I work for, there's no written contracts. You're
yeah,
just counting on people to be decent people. And
yeah,
so then it's easy for them to gloss over usage rights if they're not
yep,
aware of who owns the photos.
yeah.
So
So it's definitely a good thing to take a mental note on.
yeah. Yeah, it's something I never thought I'd have to make sure every client is educated on as I do it, but
Yeah,
we're there.
yeah. I've I've been oh, so I do a lot of small client based stuff. I'm still I'm still working on establishing myself really.
Right.
Like I feel like I have a pretty decent portfolio and things are definitely starting to amount and I'm getting some cool opportunities, especially this
Mhm.
last year. And I see it going upward and forward. So that's cool. But yeah, a lot of publication wise, I haven't done that stuff too much. I have a friend that I shot a whole story for Rolls Royce. Um, he's part of I think Sturgis of the Auto Museum.
Okay.
He just got accepted in the last year, within like last 6 months, I think. So he actually writes articles occasionally for them.
Okay. Very cool.
I honestly haven't looked too much into it. So he actually ended up having me shoot that Rolls Royce for his broking job, and then I also shot. It was a '93 Town Ace, Toyota Town Ace.
Okay.
That was that weird bean van. I shot that one for
Okay.
him at the. I'm quite sure I posted it.
I can't picture it at the moment, but that's all right.
Maybe I didn't. Okay, I'd be stupid if I don't. It's a cool image. I shot this. It's a space bean. It's just
Right.
this bean shaped 4-wheel drive diesel minivan from Japan,
Very cool.
and I
Huh.
shot it at that planetarium.
Oh,
And
even
I
better.
and I even got the star trails with it too,
Oh,
real
nice.
in the
Yeah.
image to where they actually are in the sky because they were the real stars.
You didn't
And
have to
I felt
Photoshop them
myself
in.
shining. I was like, I don't think it's gonna work because it's in the middle of the city. And when
Yeah,
I got there, there was like barely light pollution, which blows my mind.
that's crazy.
And and I
Yeah.
was able to get photos and shot about half an hour's worth of images to put together star trails.
Hmm.
It turned out pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
That's a lot of time commitment right there.
yeah. Honestly, that well, it's a bit. I played it with two cameras. I had one for
Oh,
the
yeah.
hero shot, and
Mhm.
I only needed the information about the building, so I just
Right.
let it go for half an hour. And I actually took my other camera and started light painting the car.
Oh, that's clever. That's
It's so
clever.
hard to do though. It
Mhm.
takes some time to set up,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Hmm.
it was a cool process.
Very
I'll
cool.
have
Yeah.
to show you that. Um, I feel like this moves like way slower because of me.
Oh, no, you're good. All good.
So I guess a question for you.
Yeah.
I know how I am as a photographer. Maybe a little bit of that came out through that conversation. Are you more so like a bare bones type of shooter, or do you like a lot of techie stuff?
I'd say I'm probably somewhere in the middle. See,
Yeah,
I feel like I'm relatively technical with a lot of stuff, but as far as my gear setup, I am very bare bones.
yeah,
Everything I need fits in a backpack. Camera, tripod, and lights
okay,
with my current setup. So it's very easy for me to go do a shoot. I can get somewhere, hop in with somebody, and we can hop in the car we're shooting, go where we need to go,
yeah,
and we're good in that regard. Um, but I don't own any strobes where I need an extra bag for carrying strobes and strobe batteries and
yeah,
stands for strobes and modifiers and all that stuff as
yeah,
well. And so it's a mix in that regard.
yeah,
I think I mean, everybody has their process, and I think I feel like I get where I need to with my process, but I don't know that it's necessarily that I follow something through very technically. Like in photo, like with even my editing process, it's like it's pretty messy if you watch me do it.
Yeah.
But it seems to work.
Okay.
But everybody's got their own ways.
I'll tell you about mine if you want.
Sure. Yeah, let's hear it.
So once I started getting into this stuff, I got into it. Like I tried to figure out as many processes as I possibly could. So for me, I started off with natural light, as everybody does.
Yeah.
Then I moved to I think it was a little tiny bit of light painting with a car. I did light painting for some other stuff, but like car related, there's just a little bit of that. And then I got to flashes, speed lights. And then I got to strobe. Then I got to like legit light painting instead of using a garage light. I was using a Westcott Ice Light.
Right.
Holy crap, are they expensive? But holy crap, are they worth it to me?
Now, have you? So I've never used an actual Westcott Ice Light.
Yeah.
I've just used off-brand stuff. Is there a benefit to one versus the other?
So what's nice about the Westcott, I have a lot of Westcott stuff. I'm a little bit of a fanboy. I like their stuff a lot. What's nice about it is the fact the light is completely balanced for daylight. It's 5,500 Kelvin, and you can bank on it.
Right.
And it's also like the gradient of the light face is smooth all the way across it. You don't get like the hot LEDs.
Right.
It's nice and diffused. And they have two versions of it. And I almost went with the older one, but I went with the version 2 because the version 2 has the removable battery. The other one has internal, and it's only good for an hour. So I'm like, you know what? I just have to splurge, get the second version. So it has removable battery, and at full power, it lasts for an hour. And nice thing about it too is the fact that it's like a very nice compact light. It's just a rectangle or a tube.
Yeah.
Not a weird shape at all. That's nice. I have barn doors for it too.
Perfect.
I go in and out of using them. It's only a two-way barn door instead of four, unfortunately.
I mean, with the shape of it, I feel like you're okay with two.
Yeah. I also have the tungsten gel for it.
Right.
I use that a lot. That is a lifesaver sometimes, depending on your environment.
So the ice light, it's only daylight light, and you have to put a gel over. Okay. So I wasn't sure if it had any RGB capabilities.
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing. I mean, it's pretty bare bones if you look at it in that regard.
No, I mean, if it does, it does the one thing really well. So there's nothing wrong with that.
The master of one.
Yeah. I mean, and for the way you use it, I mean, if you're light painting, you're doing multiple exposures anyway, so you can do an exposure with the intent of adjusting the hue of it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm starting to look into getting a pixel stick for backgrounds. Like I want to dig with it. It's stupid, but I want to try it.
I mean, but there's part of me that would definitely wants to try a pixel stick as well.
For sure.
But I don't think I'll use it enough to justify it.
I'm kind of on that brink. I'm like, do I bother? But yeah, the ice light's just really nice, and it's got tripod collars on both sides.
Right.
And I put mine on a monopod, and I light a car like that.
I did the same thing.
I used to put it on a C stand, and the C stand is so incredibly heavy.
Yeah, it would be.
So I went to just a small Manfrotto monopod. I have two of them, one for my camera, one for that now.
Okay. I have a Manfrotto monopod as well. And all I use it is for light painting.
Yeah. This one I actually bought for $10.
Okay. I paid more than that.
Yeah. I buy all my stuff used, like that Westcott Ice Light. I bought that secondhand on eBay for like $300, $350.
Okay.
So like, versus $500, it's a pretty reasonable expense.
Yep, absolutely.
But I use it for so much stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
I could go back to something else if I had to, but like having the ability to bank on something being good. It's also good for video. That's what, as far as technically, I think a video light.
Right. Yeah. I don't imagine there's too many brands that they're making lights specifically for light painted cars.
No. However, like they're good. They're never like endorsing people or people trying them. Like, yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
All the big guns have them. It's like, okay, there must be something about it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But so I'll give you a little rundown of how I work. So I am very, very, very in my shooting styles. I'm very obsessed with having as much information and as many tools available to myself, which is good and bad. It's good if I need it, but at the same time, then it's bad because I might bring it and I don't need it. When I travel, I have a huge tote for my tripods and light stands. I'll bring like 5 light stands with me, a tripod, 2 monopods, a couple of soft boxes. It's overkill, and it's usually when I go on trips like out of state, so that I can't go home and get it. I have to have it. So I usually use less than I bring. Then I have like my ice light in there. Then I bring a separate case. It's a Pelican. I put all my flashes in there and my strobe. So that's a pretty decent.
So you're taking another thing with your cameras yet. So there's 3. Yeah. Hey, I get it. I have a little more gear, but I don't bring it with me to car shoots. If I brought it, I wouldn't use it.
Yeah. I sometimes feel like an idiot, but sometimes I just need it, and it's like, bam, I have it now.
Yeah.
I just use a lot of stuff.
You got that station wagon, you may as well use it.
Yeah, that was the intent of it. It's just I had to put it on the road first and get it roadworthy and not have electrical gremlins.
Right.
But yeah, then I bring a C stand with me with the arm as a C stand complete is what they call it. Super, super, super helpful tool. If you have one or not, I don't know.
I don't own a C stand, no.
They're worth looking into.
Yeah.
They're like super old school, but like they're one of those pieces of equipment that will never go out of style. Like
and just practical.
Yes, extremely. Yeah. So I use one of those. Then I have my camera bag. I don't know how many lenses you bring with you, but I'm like, I could use this, and I'm a prime shooter.
Oh, okay.
Exclusive.
So I have one zoom lens that never leaves my camera, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm like, I like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's like, and all of a sudden you have this huge bag. It's like,
No, I've got a 24-70, a 2.8, and it just works. And so I just use it for everything.
A lot of people love those.
Yeah, I mean, and it's that mix of focal range that I feel is like you're not getting any crazy fisheye. I mean, at 24 you get some with a full frame, and you can go up to 70 and you're zooming in and you're getting basically the effect of a 50 at that point. And you're getting rid of all distortion and getting a little compression in like compressing the image a bit. And so I feel like every now and then I feel like it'd be nice to have the 70 to 200 more for track photography than for photo shoots. But that would be nice from time to time. But for the most part, I mean, I don't feel the need. I don't feel like it's going to make me money to justify the investment.
Yeah. What camera system do you shoot?
Nikon D800.
Okay, I use a D750.
Okay, so very, very similar.
I love it to bits.
Yeah,
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's heavy. I know that the D800 is very heavy, and as is the lens I use. But I just the dynamic range of the photos and everything. I'm like, I can't. I don't actually really feel much of an urge to upgrade to any of the newer ones.
With me, yeah. It's like 24. Well, yours is definitely a much heavier sensor. Mine's 24 megapixels, which is honestly perfectly fine for me. Yeah, it's plenty. The pixel wars aren't really that relevant nowadays, I don't feel.
No, I feel like low light performance has been a huge thing, as well as the video performance.
Yep.
Which the D800 is terrible with video.
Is it really?
Oh, it's awful. my phone will take much better videos.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I don't think I think it's 1080p at 30 frames per second max.
Yeah.
There's no 2K, 4K. I don't think it'll do 60 frames per second or anything.
I don't think it would even fathom anything above 1080.
Yeah, well, not with that
era
one.
was kind of like okay for video.
Yeah, it shoots video, but it doesn't shoot it well.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So I'll tell you a story. Have you ever like killed equipment before?
One lens. I feel like I've been very lucky so far.
I have a story.
All right.
So back when I was in college, I was doing like portrait work and stuff along with no, it wasn't even along with. I was shooting cars for myself, and they were very limited and mostly my own car. But I was doing senior portraits, and I was trying to get into weddings because I thought I needed to be in weddings.
There's money in weddings.
There is money in weddings. And I was like, I guess gotta get that wedding, gotta get that wedding. Didn't get a wedding for like the longest time, but I like gear. I'm a little bit of a tech whore, bokeh whore too. Like I'm sorry, I'm a little bit excessive. If he wants to, I understand why.
No, I that's fair.
I had a D3200, which I still use, still have it.
I have one in the drawer.
I bring it with me too.
Yeah.
In case if things go south, they have it for me. But so I wanted a full frame camera in the worst way. I was like, I'll go for a 600 or a 610, and scavenge Craigslist. This was 2017, I think, or no, 2016. And I saw somebody had a deal, had an ad come up for D750, and the D750 at that time was probably like a $2,000 camera brand new, just for the body.
Yeah.
And this guy had the body on there used with, I think, probably like 25,000 actuations for $1,100.
That's a good deal.
That was a blazing deal. And it blows my mind because that was in November. I saw it, didn't have the money. I contacted him like, hey, if this is still available and I have the money, I will totally buy it off of you. I just want to let you know. Okay. Month goes by. I'm like busting my ass trying to make money in December. And I made the money for it.
Right.
So he ended up ghosting me, but I got my dad to message him, and he responded to my dad. So I just went and picked it up.
Right.
$1,100. Amazing camera. I love it. It has been the best camera I've ever had. So I used it for probably 3 years. And I mean, it was with me with so many trips and adventures. And I shoot car to car stuff. I am not one of those people that hangs out of a window. I'm not a dingleberry. So what I have is I have a series of suction cups. And this time I was using one suction cup. It was a Manfrotto. I don't remember the name of it, the number. But it's just a large 6-inch cup that I stuck on the hood. And I got a Cam Ranger, so I had a remote tether for the live view. So it was so cool. So this was something I've been pursuing for a long time, and it's so hard to get good at it because you need to have equipment, and you're tracking the same speed of a car with another car. So it's very technical shooting. Like you have to be within a small tolerance to make it work. But man, that's what I go after.
Yeah.
And finally had a nice setup. Finally got like my shutter speed in like a nice area. I think I was shooting at 30th of a second. I was usually doing like a quarter before. So I did that, and I was taking pictures of my girlfriend's Camry just as a practice in the summer. And we have a side road around the corner from me. It's got this S-bend to it. And I've always dreamed of shooting my dad's or my mom's Trans Am over there with it going around that bend and having the sun come from behind it. It'd be such a cool photo. So we decided to go out there, set up all the crap, got it working, go up the road. I had one suction cup. It's a tripod head on a suction cup, and I had a piece of silicone, the plastic silicone wrap or whatever, silicone for like food and whatnot. You can put that on the surface and then put the suction cup on it so that it doesn't mark up your paint.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes it leaves that depression.
Right.
And it was working so good. We probably made like 3 or 4 passes up and down the road, I think. Got the best photos I've ever had rolling And then I'm like, okay, I'll just leave it in my car, drive slow down the road. We were doing 30 before, up and down the road, not a problem. Getting some good photos.
Yeah.
So I'm just going slow, and it's just like a little intersection that tees off like this.
Yep.
And I'm going so slow around the corner. I'm doing 10 at the worst.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, the suction cup gives, and I see
Oh.
my camera go, whoop! And it
Ooh.
hits the ground. And I see it tumbling on the ground, and my
Mm.
heart is like this rips from.
Yeah. Oh, that's brutal.
I mean, that was all user error. That was all myself. And
Yeah. That doesn't mean it sucks any less.
yeah, it was self-induced, not on purpose, but it sucked. I dumped the camera. It hit one of the knobs for the straps, pushed that into the body because it's aluminum housing.
Right.
And the SD card slots depressed into the body.
Right.
Like they are like automatically like ejected, and like you could just pull them out with no resistance, and like the board must have went into the grip more.
Okay.
That camera was so busted.
Oh, brutal. Yeah. No, I don't have a cool story like that. I literally.
It's not cool.
I mean, at least it's like it's an exciting story of losing some gear. Yeah. But it's like I just forgot to close the one clip on a camera bag and dropped the camera bag, then watched my camera just fall out. And I didn't realize it had broke the lens until like a day or two later.
Really?
Yeah, and it had just ripped part of the piece that attaches to the camera and just busted that apart. And so it was like I could literally hold the lens against the camera and still take pictures with it.
Really?
Because it hadn't fully broken it off.
Weird.
But that would then just push me to get a better lens.
Yeah, I understand that process too.
Yeah.
So the way that I've gotten into photography, like the style that I do, is the fact that I do my stuff on a budget.
Yeah.
And it's because I buy everything used that I can.
Yeah.
And the equipment I use sometimes is like very old.
Right.
My lenses, I shoot primes. My primes are mostly from the 80s.
Okay. Yeah. But then you're doing autofocus. You're manual focusing everything?
Manual focus every single thing. I shot Formula Drift with manual focus.
I mean, I would honestly rather shoot something like Formula Drift with manual focus than an actual photo shoot, I think.
Yeah. I was definitely no Larry Chen. I was not bursting off frames like
well, not with an Nikon, especially.
Yeah. But I was in the stands, on the sidelines, panning that camera everywhere. I was shooting at my 300 2.8 manual focus, racking it, monopod sometimes.
Yeah.
It was such a cool experience. It was just manual focus everything for me. I have, I think, 2 lenses in my whole entire arsenal that are autofocus.
Okay.
Everything else is manual focus.
Okay.
But when I broke that camera, I had a 24 2.8 on there. Like an AI version, so 80s or maybe even late 70s. That fell off with the camera. Guess what survived?
The lens.
The lens.
Yeah.
You know how much money I paid for it originally?
Probably like $30 or something.
$75.
75. Yeah. Yeah. It's
you're not going to
for what it is.
Modern 24.
No, but then it worries me so much that I'm going to get on the computer and something's going to be just slightly soft, and I'm so miserable about it. I know you can check it, but
I'm a stickler for focus.
Yeah,
I'm awful about it. I've had shots where I composite something, or I set it up for a composite, and I never check the focus. And I go back, and I'm like,
yeah, and that's
why did I do this?
So that's what scared me so much about manual focusing everything.
Yeah,
and I have more friends that manual focus, but I don't know. I like my autofocus.
Well, for my composites, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Right.
Compositing, it's the best thing you could have for it.
Yeah.
Also, having a live view that you can zoom into the feed to make sure your pixels are sharp. That's pretty key.
Yeah, that would be very key.
Yeah.
Either that or you got to go old school with the old film cameras, and where they have that piece in the middle of the lens where it all lines up.
I miss those.
Yeah.
Those are so helpful.
They are very helpful, but I mean, with autofocus, you don't need that.
Yeah.
It's kind of where that, yeah. But no, those devices are amazing.
Yeah.
Now you seem like the type of person who would jump in on film cameras as well.
Not really.
No?
I like the lenses.
Okay, that's surprising, but that's fair.
I have yet to own a Nikon film body. I looked forever at garage sales and flea markets to find one. I could never find one at a decent price.
Okay.
So I just kind of gave up on it.
I honestly forget which Nikon film camera I have, but I do have one.
Yeah. Like an FM.
Something like that, I think.
Yeah.
It came with yeah. Honestly, it was free. It was given to me.
Yeah.
As nearly all except for one of my film cameras, I think. Maybe one or two were all just people like see that I'm into it, so they just say, here you go. And luckily it's like I'm not in the photography world, I'm in the car world mostly. Yeah. And so the guys in the car world aren't in the photography world. And so then it's that they're okay with giving that stuff away sooner. And so well, as a result, though, I'm trying to take great care of it, and I feel way too guilty to ever sell anything.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't get given stuff too much. I mean, there's one time my grandma gave me an old camera. I thought it was going to make a fully manual film camera. I ended up having a bunch of electrical parts of it. So I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like doing this. You can't remove the lens without having batteries in it. So I'm like, nope. No. So I sold it to my friend for like $80. I'm like, here you go.
Yeah, all the film cameras, all the electronics that I stay away from.
I've got a Pentax K1000.
I have two of them.
Those things?
Yep.
I don't know what camera you're going to find is going to have a better reputation for just working.
They just work. Yeah.
Yep. I got mine for free.
Yeah, that was the first film camera. An old car guy said, "Well, I'm clearing stuff out." He bought it so he could take pictures at tractor pulls. And he's an old farmer, that's why
tractor pulls too.
What is that?
You do have tractor pulls too.
Yeah, we got tractor pulls.
I grew up when I was younger, and we had those around us. I went to those all throughout high school. My friends, I've had a lot of friends out there. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I meant to do, and I've never gotten to it. I probably will eventually. Light painting, pulling tractors. Holy crap, is there money in that? Like those tractors and like the tech, like the mechanical tech. It's great. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, I think I may have. I can't remember if I light painted it or not. I shot one, but it was years ago.
Yeah.
It was a mini puller, but they've since done a lot of upgrades and changed a lot of stuff. They've moved to a blown big block on that thing.
I have two friends in my town that their families have owned like the Pro. I think it's Pro stock. It's a Pro
classes.
It barely looks like it looks like a tractor, but you know it's not a tractor. Mm-hmm. One of them's got like a Cummins like 5.9 in it. It's like
right.
It's everything.
They're insane.
Either like they blew up their engine or like they blew up the transmission. They've never put them back together in the last like 4 years. So it blows my mind. I'm like,
they cost a fortune. It's like drag racing.
Forever. They both just stopped at the same time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think that we're probably nearing the end of this session because I feel like I'm talking my ass off.
Yeah, it's all good.
For another 10 hours. I have work in the morning.
Yep. That's fair.
But, I definitely appreciate you making the time for this.
Oh, anytime. This is great.
Honestly, I could talk forever about it. Like, there's so much stuff I could ask you.
Yeah, well, there's so many things that overlap with our interests. It's not just photography. It's the fact, there's all the other stuff, the car stuff and everything like that as well. Yeah.
I see your stuff all the time. Like, that stuff's so cool. So I always try to keep like a little bit of a connection that, I don't know. I like talking to people like-minded.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly one of my favorite things about doing what I do is to be able to talk to, especially with doing the magazine work I do. Mm-hmm. It's like these cars that are magazine worthy, and I get to talk to people usually who build them. And
Yeah,
I
it's so
love that
cool.
and the stories they have, and it's through the stuff I get to meet some of the most interesting people in my life is through car stuff.
Yep, me too. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then I get to then someone like you pops up, and we get to chat too. It's I love it, all the stuff like this. I thought it
Yeah,
was going to be all about cars when I got into. I was like I was all about cars, and by
yeah.
now it's mostly about people.
It's so much the people. I've definitely found that in the last the last year and a half.
Hmm.
There's just I shot stuff over COVID because I was going crazy not having this outlet,
Hmm.
and I met some friends, and honestly, half of them, or not half, like there's a good number of them that have led to larger gigs
Right.
and like friendships and like partnerships, which is crazy.
Yeah, but
It's like literally
that's the other
just
thing
me
of
going
it.
on Facebook.
Yeah, well, you'll quickly find out that the networking is such a big part of it,
Yes.
and it's not the networking is I can't stress how important it's been for me in just
Yeah.
building that network, and that's what leads to the work is being in the right place at the right time and talking to people.
Yeah.
Always gets the work.
It's always about who you know or who knows of you, really.
Hmm. Yeah, and then
But
your friends will get you to work because they're looking out for you.
yeah, no, it's amazing. I
Hmm.
found that like I've opened up my circle so large. The number of people I've met through it's crazy. And I travel out of state for this too. So I have friends like everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I have
Oh,
somebody here. I have somebody here.
mhm.
So like even if I go to like a car event by myself, there's a good chance I'll run into somebody I already know. And it's not
Well,
even like
exactly.
coordinated.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't know somebody there, you recognize the car there, and then you've just made a new friend.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's so cool. It happened with me with one of my friends at from the drift this year. I'll be a couple minutes, okay? How about we set a 9-minute limit and we're done?
Okay.
Because I will never stop. Is that okay by you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same
I'm a
way.
terrible host. I'm sorry. I'm learning this.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're doing great.
So Formula Drift came to Erie, Pennsylvania. Never thought I was going to see it on our coast. I
Right.
follow it all the time. I follow the Larry Chen stuff. It is the coolest shit ever.
Hmm.
I've never been into like sports, and watching the process of the series of racing and photographing, it's so cool. It's like I need to be part of that, and to
Hmm.
in some extent. So never thought it would come out to us, and then it came out to Lake Erie last year. That's only like 2 hours from my house.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was gonna make it. I had car troubles. I hit a shovel and it broke my wide pipe on my car.
Oof.
It was raining out, and then there was something in the road. I thought it was a dead animal. I'm like, oh, I can go around it or straddle it. It's an
Mhm.
animal. No, it
Yeah.
was a shovel. So I had to figure out my exhaust for that. Didn't think I
Yeah.
was gonna make it. Made it. Made it out there. I was gonna camp in my car because I just needed to do it.
Hmm.
Because one of those things is like, well, maybe I won't do it. And I'm like, I'm gonna hate myself if I don't. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'll bring my shit with me. I will sleep in my car if I have to because it's worth it. And
Hmm.
I ended up getting there. It was nice for a little while, then it started getting rainy later in the day. But I went up to talk to Tyler from Autofocus from
Okay.
Hoonigan,
Right.
if you're familiar with him.
Does he
But
works with Larry Chen?
yeah, he's the one that
Okay.
films. He's one
Okay.
of the film crew for his program.
Right.
And I saw him there. He was filming the racing and he's talking to somebody else. And I was like, you know what? I want to talk to him for a few minutes. Why not? Because everybody at the event you could practically talk to.
Hmm.
Everybody is human. Even
Yeah.
people that you don't even you might watch. It's like everybody's just chill
Yeah.
for
And
the
they're
most
in the
part.
same stuff you are because you're there
Yeah,
watching what they're doing.
it's crazy. So I go up to Tyler to start talking to him. Like I don't even know what I was even going to say, and then I hear it from the other guy I was talking to him. He's like, "You're Bailey, aren't you?" And
Mm.
I'm like looking at him for a second, and I'm like, I have this like disconnect in my mind. And I look, I'm like, "Oh, Jesse," and I'm
Perfect.
like, I didn't recognize you with the beard, or I don't know. Like it's just my mind was not there. I had met
Right.
him once.
Oh,
He has
okay.
that silver S14 with a 1J in it.
Okay.
I met him through another friend I got from just meeting on Facebook, and we just started talking. Like we talked to each other for that entire weekend. He was like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, I'm coming up from North Carolina. I just went on a trip for vacation, just for the hell of it, by himself, just because."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I figured I'd go to to Lake Erie, follow FD because it's out here.
That's
I'm like,
cool.
oh shit. And that just led to so many cool, like, it was just such a cool day. And like having a cool friend with Eric too was awesome. And I shot a bunch of stuff, he followed around, we talked, we literally ranted and raved about how cool the event was the whole entire time. The sound of it, the smells, it was absurd. Like, it's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
If you follow it online, it's cool.
I follow a little
agree.
bit of FD,
Cool.
but only basically through, occasionally through Adam LZ, but mostly through Von Gittin Jr.
Yeah. And once you like go there, it's crazy. Everything bouncing off rev limiters, the deep throaty V8s, it's absurd. And
Yeah.
you see all these people, you recognize their faces, and it's crazy. And I ended up meeting a team out there. They're from I think they're from Norway.
Okay.
Norway or Denmark? Denmark. They're from Denmark.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they're Denmark.
I think I've seen them on Hoonigan.
Maybe. This team, it's Simon Olsen.
Right.
He just won Rookie of the Year for the season.
Okay.
He's got the newer gen, the 5th gen Supra.
Okay.
It's gray with the yellow accents on it. But I went in the pits the one day. It was Friday because that's the day it rained. I talked to Simon for a while. Like, I probably talked to him for like half an hour that first day.
Right.
And it was just like a cool team. Like, the whole team was so nice. Like, they imported the car just for the events. And they're stationed overseas. That's where they live.
Right.
And you could just have such a cool conversation with them. Got into Volvos, and like we geeked out about Volvos because they're from Sweden.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. And
that's awesome.
I ended up getting permission from them, like, hey, do you care if I light paint your car? And one of his crew members is like, oh, is this what you mean? He pulls out a picture of like one of his old cars back at home that one of his friends just casually light painted. I'm like, yeah. So they're like, yeah, not a problem. We're just gonna go out and get some steaks because like apparently they don't have good steaks out there or something like that, or where they've been.
I feel like when you're in North America, when you're coming to North America, it's like you got to go for steaks.
Yeah. So they all went. It was like 11 o'clock at night or something like that. They all like took off right after qualifiers, and they're like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. The lights on the trailer. Do you want this or that? You can open the doors and what that. They were so nice.
Yeah.
And I ended up light painting that car for about like 2 hours.
Okay.
In the rain. But I had Jesse there. He helped me. He held stuff. He covered stuff. He triggered stuff for me. It was really cool.
On that note, I'm gonna a quick story for you.
Yeah.
I'll try and wrap it up in the 3 minutes here. So through my network, through Facebook, then I saw a couple young guys were big into drag racing. A lot of my friends are big into drag racing. And I saw they had these two brothers had some old school drag cars, which was the like 1960s stuff, probably earlier 60s styles of drag cars. And so I had met them, but the one brother cruised on a Top Fuel drag car. Yeah. So they run as much NHRA stuff as they can with the Canadian Top Fuel budget, which is hard to find. And but anyway, so my experience with photography there is so I got a little bit of extra access at the track because I became friends with them, and then in with the Top Fuel guys because there's like 4 Top Fuel cars in all of Canada, maybe, and like one or two that are actually competitive. And so I had this idea one summer, and I was like, so I messaged him. I became friends with this guy right away, and messaged him and said, hey, would it be possible that we could light paint the engine of the Top Fuel car?
That photo is so fucking cool.
Thanks, man. But that's how it came to be. Is like, and I got into their shop, and it literally come back from the Winter Nationals in California, and hadn't been taken apart. I mean, however it was left there is how and then they just started like I'd light paint a layer at a time as they took it apart. Yeah. And it was like at the Top Fuel shop. I mean, we're friends with the guy. I mean, me and another guy we just went there. I just got two old Hemi blocks from them that are all busted up. I was like, well, that's gonna make a sweet table. But I was like, who's got Hemi Top Fuel blocks? kicking around, but it's like those connections, like you're talking about with these people. Like
Yeah.
for me, as like before I met the guy who works there, it's like it seemed so out of reach to be friends with or connected to a top fuel team. It's like they seem like they're in this other world of stuff, but it's like, yeah, they're really just car guys the same as you and I.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're in there ripping apart a top fuel engine for my photos. As I was blown away that, and it's actually on the back of their 18-wheeler trailer now. They printed it.
I love it.
It's like 10 feet tall.
It's an incredible photo.
Thanks. Yeah, that's one of the coolest, more unique ones.
Yeah. I honestly thought it was the reverse, that it was the building of it, but it was really the disassembly.
I mean, either way, it'd be the same story.
Well, when you shot it, though, it was the disassembly, right?
Yeah, it was.
That'd probably make it easier for everything to align, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's harder to line up all the bolts than it is to just take them apart.
Yeah.
Plus, is like, cool, yeah, either way would work. But it was also a surprise. I was like, we didn't know if there was still a clutch in the car, which there wasn't. Yeah. And if there was, whether or not there was pistons in it, I don't think there was.
Yeah.
There may have been, but yeah, I don't actually recall. But yeah, and then also through that connection, like the network thing, through that connection, I got connected to his dad, who had since bought a funny car, like a nitro, and he's building a blown nitro Hemi for the funny car. Yeah. And I actually got to paint the car, which is a whole other story we can talk about another day. But
for sure,
yeah, it's just it was that was last year's crazy adventure.
For sure.
But hey, awesome. Yeah, it's been awesome chatting with you.
This was a freaking stellar time.
Absolutely. I always love conversations like this.
Finally meet with somebody, meet people.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to find people that have you can relate to on so many levels, from the graphic design to the photography, and all of it revolving around car stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
If you'd be interested in doing this again, I would totally be all down for it.
So, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. We'll see how the audio syncs up and see how that goes. I think it should work. Alrighty, well, I appreciate it. Nice meeting you face to face finally.
Likewise. That was good.
Alrighty. Well, thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Have a good one, Bailey.
Bye. Yep, you too.